Good morning, YouTube. This is your buddy Choppadon coming at you with another episode of Chop Talk. Don't get used to this everyday thing I've been releasing because I've had some time. I will probably disappear again and then come back and disappear again and come back. But when I do get the time, I do love making these videos. So I appreciate everybody liking and subscribing to the channel so that you get the video as soon as it drops. I also would recommend that you visit DFSArmy.com. That's who sponsors my content. DFSArmy.com is your one-stop shop for all things DFS, if you haven't heard that before. From MMA to PGA to NFL to everything in between. 15 or 20 coaches, 20 contributors, 1,500 members chatting, leaving over 60,000 messages for each other every single week. Chatting DFS 24/7 is the best place for content, tools, optimizers, and the most accessible coaching you're ever going to find. I myself am one of them, along with many others that are constantly bantering back and forth with guys asking questions, trying to help them become better players. It's just what we do. DFSArmy.com. Visit the link in the bottom of the content or comment section of the video here. Sorry if I sound a little tired, if I sound like I don't have that much energy. I have not poured a cup of coffee yet. I have not opened any of my computer stuff yet. This is going to be raw today, and all I'm going to do is try and take 15 minutes or so, blow through the entry level. This is going to get put in chin music today, just to show you how I get started every single day when I do my research, because I haven't written down anything on a piece of paper yet. I haven't done anything. So, of course, as always, follow me out on Twitter. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to grow these followers so that I gain more influence, so that I spread the word, so that I help more people and help more people become better DFS players. Hopefully a certain number of them jump into DFS Army. If not, no harm, no foul. I still do what I do. I love it. I enjoy teaching people to become better players, but I can't give the whole farm away. I'm just showing you the basics. If you want the farm, you got to buy the cow. So let's jump in, and I'll show you the first couple of places that I go. Of course, our VIP page, the research station, is a good one, but if you don't have access to that, the first place I would go, honestly, RotoGrinders has one of their lineup pages, which is great. Gives me an idea of some of the slates. Like if I wanted to see the early only, it'll let me know how many games it is. Looks like only 3 games. Probably not even worth covering, to be honest with you. You can do this in, gosh, 30 seconds. Pittsburgh and the Reds, looks like no weather concerns. Pittsburgh and the Reds, higher implied total there, higher implied total there, but really pretty close. Higher implied total. Looks like a pretty balanced slate so far. Nova, Castillo, Tropiano, Estrada, no major favorites. Guys that I know, Dylan Bundy, guys that I can tell don't really have a ton of strikeout upside one way or the other. So it looks like pitching's pretty wide open. What I look for on these 3-game slates, I'm looking for the chalk. And then I'm going to decide whether I want to eat it and play cash, or I want to stack against it and play GPPs. And in some cases I will take the chalk and play GPPs because I see some other way to go. And I don't really see a chalk pitcher that everybody's going to take that we should then stack against. It's such a shame too, because if there was one on this 3-game slate, it would be just ready-made, easy, whatever for us. But instead, looks like it's going to be pretty balanced. When I'm looking at the offenses, there's no overwhelming stud offense on the slate. People are going to run to Trout, of course. Can't really gauge whether or not they may run to some Cincinnati, being that it's a hitter's ballpark. Baltimore, Chicago just blew up last night. They may go back there, chase some points. Really pretty balanced, really pretty wide open slate. Now, as we dig into numbers deeper and deeper and deeper, we may find out otherwise. But just on the surface, that's what I do. When I click over and go down to the main, then I'm going to do the exact same thing. And the main's only a 3-game slate tonight. Oh, boy. I did not know that. Boy, this is hard to cover today. Porcello, Snell, Duffy, whatever that guy's name is, Matz, Davies. Matz is actually the underdog. That's odd. No line here. That sort of sucks. Not that either one of these two is going to be a pitcher you're really going to dive into, at least that I can tell. Snell, Porcello, same thing. Not a ton of chalk. Nothing that's really standing out. No weather concern. 2 domes. Big hitters park here. Anti-hitters park here. Boston offense should be very popular. Maybe mixed with some Texas or some Brewers. I would stay off of Kansas City. I would stay off of the Mets. They just aren't going very well right now. On the main slate, if you wanted to play some 20,000 person GPP, you know, maybe you figure that the Mets will come out because Mets has a little bit of potential, or Danny Duffy has the game of his life, and you stack Royals with Mets, and you're completely different, completely alone. Borderline completely stupid, because they're just not playing well. And that's not a real smart play, but, you know, it's baseball. Shit happens. Oh boy. It just does not look like an attractive slate today on the surface. So we're going to have to really dive into the numbers and play around with it. You might even consider the all day if they have one. Make it a 6-game slate, make it a little bit more fun, but that's hard to do when you don't have lineups late released by the lock in the early part of the day. The other thing I do when I start looking for, I've asked Notorious for permission before. He said, yeah, go ahead, share my article. He enjoys the publicity, so thanks again for always allowing me to do that. But this is, if you give him your email address, it's a free article. It's first look. It's a very, very good one. It's where I go when I don't dive right into the research station right off. And when I see just 6 or 7 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, there must be a middle afternoon game that's not included, which is crazy. But whatever. The park information I don't really look at. Here's the offense information. Anaheim leads the slate. Baltimore, Toronto, Cincinnati. These are going to be your offenses people are largely going to key on. We're going to find out if there isn't some reason to take some of these guys down here instead and get a little bit off the herd. I will take the K percentage and I will sort by it. I will also go into the starting pitching tab of our research station and do the same thing. See, like for this one, I kind of like to study the main. 4 games on the main. No, that 6-10 won't be in there. It start at the 7. That's why it's 3-game slate. Like I said, it's a little rusty this morning. This is how I get going. This is how I get cranking when it comes to baseball. So I'm going to try and drop this here in the next 5 or 10 minutes because we're really just touching the surface. Sort by descending for K versus handedness. And you're going to pull your strikeout pitchers to the top. And then I'm going to add those up. Whoops, wrong K handedness. Dadgummit. Why didn't you guys say something? I didn't hear you yell through the screen. So when I sort this by K-handedness and then I have these guys all sorted out, I'm looking at DFS A grades. Looks like Snell is going to lead the slate, the evening slate. Porcello and Duffy are also playable, and these guys are all stackable against. That's just a quick assessment. I look at this K potential and I see what a 23 and a 20, that's a 46, 21, 20, 42, 48. Danny Duffy with a 48 because he's facing a strikeout-prone team. 10% swing and miss type stuff. That's not a terrible number. It's not great. I'd like to see 12, 13, 14. And I don't know. It doesn't look like as good a spot, but it looks like it might be worth sort of a shot. But, I mean, if I scroll over here and look at his 2017-18 numbers, not versus righties, not versus lefties. I don't need that stuff yet. I'm just looking at his overall stats. I see Duffy with an ERA of 4.6. Hard contacts average. Sierra's 4.48, so he's about right on his Sierra. I just don't know. Oh, man. It doesn't excite me, but it does kind of stand out because I'm also going to get a very, very cheap price that would allow me to really load up on Boston. Take the expensive Milwaukee bats and probably be pretty chalky with a little bit different pitcher. Still be a little bit unique because most people are going to run to one of these two up here. Probably Porcello feels overpriced at 9,300, considering that Snell has the higher K score and has the higher DFS A grade by a good bit. Snell's probably the pitcher I would roll with. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here into batter matchups, actually the trends page. That's what I like to do. When I sort through here, it's the same type of thing though. I'm looking for K percentage. That's a 500. I like that. Clevenger, if he's on the slate, is a 46. What's that? 44 for Castillo. Snell again, 46. And you can start sorting these by the same things, get the same numbers that I get. You just don't get the DFSA grade. Scroll down here and look at offenses, and I've told you before what I like to look for when there are Vegas lines. I like to look for high implied totals, and I like to look for guys struggling against both sides of the plate. See, like Milwaukee Brewers, that's fine. I would focus more on right-handed bats than left-handed bats because Mats gets lefties out. When I'm looking more in these 4 offenses, afternoon game, after all 4 afternoon games, great. Texas night game. Danny Duffy struggles against both sides of the plate. So, I mean, talk about a GPP pick and wondering which way to go on him. I mean, he struggles to get guys out on both sides of the plate, yet he looks like he might be, since there's not much better on the slate, he might actually be one of the pitchers we consider. So that's really intriguing. Those are the kinds of things that make DFS guys pull their hair out. But it sucks that these are all 4, a bunch of nothing. The Mets, Zach Davies struggles against both sides of the plate. Might put Mets in GPP consideration. That'd be interesting. I mean, they haven't scored squat lately, to my knowledge. So be focused on Houston lefties, Milwaukee righties. I mean, it looks like we're going to have to break the slate up like that today. So that's what we'll do, and that's what you'll find me focused on more in Chin Music when it comes out a little bit later today. That's all I'm going to do is sort that stuff out for you. So if you've already seen this video, you've already pretty much seen Chin Music. But if you like this type of info and you like talking to us on a little bit more intimate basis, then I would definitely recommend becoming a VIP inside DFSArmy.com. As I load up the evening slate for bats. There we go. Goodness, that took a little while. Then I'm looking at DFSA grade and the trending WOBA, and I'm going to find Kansas City, Milwaukee, Milwaukee, Kansas City. It's interesting it likes Kansas City too. That game might have a bigger total, and it doesn't like Texas as much. It likes Kansas City, Milwaukee, and Boston, of course, and Mets. I mean, we already had a couple of those pegged, right? So you can see how this starts to steer you in the right direction. Then I'm going to look for guys. If I wanted to run a cash lineup, I would just have this whole slate open, and I'd be looking at DFSA grade, and then I'd be looking at guys here in the trending WOBA, and I'd be picking out the hot guys. I might even do one of these little fancy little deals where I take out the number, and I go greater than, say, 350. This is just going to take out all the guys greater than 350 in this category. These are all the guys. There's my player pool. I've got hot bats, and I'm going to just look at the rating. That drops off pretty quick, so I'm going to want to stay up here where I can. And nothing too expensive. JD Martinez, Mookie Betts. You run Danny Duffy, you can get both those guys. And then there's enough value that you can put together a fun lineup tonight, it looks like. Lorenzo Cain's running good lately. Salvi Perez, actually, I watched him destroy St. Louis with a couple of bombs, so he might be running a little better than that number suggests. JD Martinez, Aguilar, Betts. I would find just about any way possible to put Betts and Martinez in the same lineup. I don't think you're going to be alone. Saladino, trying to say even over 400 if I want. Ramos is questionable on the DL. Sandy Leon, if he gets the start, he's only 19 plate appearances in the last 14 days. So scrolling down, Johnny Field. That's interesting. Never heard of the guy. Maybe I'm under a rock, but haven't heard of the guy. But he's hitting. That's fine. This is what this stuff finds. Daniel Robertson, Carlos Perez if he gets a start. Benintendi. Benintendi's way low on this list because probably he's overpriced. $4,200 for what you get out of him. And then Willie Adames, whatever. He used to be in Colorado, right? So it'd be the first time I used him this year. 4 plate appearances in 14 days, not likely to get the start. But you see where I'm going with this. I'm going to pick those hot bats, and I'm going to go in, I'm going to try and stack them up. I'm going to try and take a couple. If I end up only taking two Bostons and 2 KC guys and 2 Milwaukee guys and 1 Tampa Bay guy or something like that, then that's more of a cash type of lineup where I'm really spread out. I'm using a lot of different offenses, and I'm not overly stacked. So I would take that, and I would run cash. Even on a 3-game slate, I'd run it. Be entering 50-50s, 3-mans, head-to-heads, small leagues like 10-man leagues. Maybe a 20-man league for a shot at $10. But, nothing too outrageous because I don't have the upside to get past everybody and really win. Yeah, it could win. It could be lucky tonight. I mean, I've seen non-stacked lineups win. But as a general rule, you're going to need that correlation because if one of these stacks goes off, somebody's going to hit it. But on a small slate like tonight, what if all those offenses kind of come out flat? It's very easy for 3 games to come out kind of flat. So then in which case a spread out structure might help you. It might work. It might negate the stacking aspect of baseball. And that's just another thing to think about. If I was going to stack, like I said, I'd be in Boston. I'd be maybe in some Milwaukee. This tends to like Kansas City. So it is what it is. I don't know. I'm just gravitating towards Boston, Milwaukee. And so I would be picking 3 guys from, Boston. Like I said, I would try and get Betts and Martinez in the same lineup. and then I would probably come down. I don't know Vasquez or Leon. I don't know that I would use them. I'd probably throw Benintendi in there with them because of that. Now I may not be able to afford that. It may really cost me a pitcher. Today you have to go into the Fanduel and play with it yourself. But I guess that's pretty much it. There's not a lot else to say. This is about all I do. I mean, if I really want to, I can scroll over and look at the ISOs and see who's hitting with some thump. And there's Aguilar and JD Martinez. So being that they're hot in the WOBA and they're hot in the ISO category, they would probably find their way into my lineup. I can scroll over even more and find hard contact numbers and see who's maybe coming alive. Somebody with a decent hard contact number on the season that is running above that. Salvi Perez. Hard contact spiking right now. If you hit the ball hard, a lot of times it finds holes. Mookie Betts, of course. Goins, that's an interesting play. I mean, it might be a hunch that you run in a GPP down here field. Christian Arroyo, that's interesting. We like to use this hard BABIP number quite a bit, where we will sort out by the difference between the hard contact and the BABIP numbers and see who's rising in that category, and somebody like Sandy Leon would be right at the top. He's been hitting the ball hard lately, and he's been getting a little ripped off with the BABIP, so he might be due to find some holes in the outfield. So just all ways that we do this. There's a lot of different ways to do it. I mean, you can go into just the regular batter matchup tab, and you can start looking at who these guys are, who they're facing. You can focus on your right and left-handed batters. You can see all of the numbers between the pitchers and the hitters. You can scroll all the way over and find the Vegas info when it gets put in there. Overall statistics from hell versus lefties when they're facing a lefty versus righties when they're facing a righty. I mean, just numbers, 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 numbers. If you're crazy on numbers, this is a place for you. This research station is nuts. If you just like it simplified, you can use top 10 numbers, and you can find who's the top 10 in the cash players, the upside players, whatever. I don't use this page a lot anymore because I've just found that I find more success chasing the hot hitter. But top rated pitchers, top strikeout pitchers, etc., etc., etc. It's all here for you. It's all at your fingertips. So anyway, that's a VIP only sheet for DFS Army subscribers. Consider that at the link in the subscription or the comment section of the video. And I'm going to go grab a cup of coffee. I'm going to dig into Chin Music, write it up for you, but you've already basically seen it. So come on in, become a VIP, get in there today, and let's start talking today. We can go as deep as you want to go. I don't tend to go too terribly deep because I don't feel the need. But to be honest with you, some guys do. We've got coaches that will go as deep as you want to go. So anyway, DFSArmy.com. This is Chop Talk. I'm your buddy Chop It On, and I will see you soon.